Wrestling isn't what it used to be, but the sport still stands as a giant in the entertainment industry. Do you think you have what it takes to be a WWE superstar? This is 2019's Fighting With My Family. Spoiler alert, while I might be giving you my opinion on the film, that's no substitute for watching it for yourself. Links to the film are in the description. And for those of you that need to hear this, this is just a movie. All stunts are for the sake of story and shouldn't be attempted on your own. Viewer discretion is advised. We open up on a throwback clip from when The Rock rocked my childhood. I remember watching The Rock as a child, and I think he might have been a good reason why I actually found it entertaining. The Rock, The Undertaker, John Cena, all of them were gold mines. I don't know what happened lately. After seeing The Rock win the title, Saraya comes in and changes the channel, while her brother Zack. She definitely doesn't want to watch that, and the two of them start wrestling each other. Their parents, Julia and Ricky, come in the middle of their match, and they start giving them pointers on how to beat the other one until Saraya is the clear winner. Then Ricky and Julia ask Saraya if she'd come with them to the match and fight a match to fill the card. She's nervous at first, but Zack agrees to dress up as a girl so she doesn't have to fight a random. Well, she loves the thrill and adoration she gets so much that she continues to wrestle with her family through the years. Flash forward, and Zack and Saraya are still wrestling their parents in the ring. After the fight is done, the family heads back home, and Ricky calls the WWE to see if they've watched the videos he sent of the kids. They're quickly blown off, and that's that. Imagine trying to get a hold of the WWE back then. It's bonkers nowadays, but this is the time when even people that like wrestling were seeing their fighters all over the place. You couldn't buy anything at Walmart without Triple H or John Cena on it. Of course, you couldn't see him though. The next day, things go back to their usual routine. Zack drives around town and picks up all of the people that take wrestling lessons from the family gym, and Saraya tries to go into town to recruit more people to come to a match. She definitely faces a small identity crisis moment when some of the local girls make fun of her family for being freaks, but she still heads to the gym where she helped Zack coach. Meanwhile, Ricky and Julia are in the office trying to find work for one of their local fighters, but financially, things aren't really panning out for the family. Then Ricky's girlfriend Courtney shows up and they pull Saraya aside to tell her some news. When they get home, Ricky tries to ask his parents to act proper in front of Courtney's parents later, and we find out that he has gotten Courtney pregnant. I can already tell that this family is the one that I would have been part of. Zack asks Ricky to put a shirt on, and Ricky asks how posh her parents are. This would be the perfect flagship moment for when two worlds collide. After getting the family to agree to be normal and polite, we jump ahead to dinner, and Courtney's parents are amazed by tales of jail, bent private parts, and pill popping. Typical romantic tales. Suddenly, the phone rings, and when Saraya answers the phone, they find out that it's the head of WWE management calling to tell them that he was impressed with Zack and Saraya's tapes. He tells them to come to SmackDown in London to try out, and the entire table jumps for joy. Even Courtney is excited. Bless this girl. She'll be the perfect fit for the family. She almost looks as excited as Zack does. He actually looks a little more terrified, if anything. When the table calms down, Courtney's parents ask what the WWE is, and Ricky puts on a compilation tape that shows the greatest moments in the industry. Ricky tells them that his first son Roy had actually tried out as well, but when he found out that he didn't make the cut, he didn't take it too well. Roy actually put a bloke in a coma, and he's now currently in jail. Obviously, this doesn't instill much confidence in Courtney's parents, but Saraya assures them that Zack is different. The next day, Saraya and Zack go for a jog, and when they sit to catch their breath, Saraya tells him that she's worried about screwing up. Zack assures her that the two of them were made for wrestling, and they head to the arena the next day. Backstage, they run into The Rock, and they try to get some advice on how to be the next superstar. Suddenly, Hutch shows up, and he gets Zack and Saraya to the tryout section. Hutch tells all of them that they have to have two things: skills and spark. By the end of the tryout, Hutch has seen enough from everyone, and he tells them that if he calls their name, they will go with him to Florida to join the NXT developmental program. You want to know a savage moment? Hutch calls Saraya's stage name Paige and then just walks off. That's it. Sure, he says thank you, but he literally leaves this short girl in the middle of all these huge guys whose dreams have just been crushed. At least escort her out of the ring. Saraya looks back to Zack, who looks like his world has been turned upside down, and she heads out to Hutch to make him take Zack. After playing hardball, Hutch gives Saraya one last chance to take the offer, and she reluctantly accepts. When Zack and Saraya head back to the home gym, Zack tells everyone that she got in, and everyone starts to celebrate. The next day, Zack walks Saraya out to the van, but he doesn't go with her to the airport. At the airport, Saraya is sent off by her parents and all of the gym members, and she goes on her journey to America. When Saraya gets to the complex, she meets some of the other NXT women, and she sees that she's definitely a different style and complex. Later, she heads to the gym to start her assessments with Hutch, and while she endures grueling days of training, Zack is still going through the routine coaching the neighborhood kids. Over time, Zack and Courtney finally have their baby, and his fleeting moment of happiness is overshadowed by his worry and failure. Saraya's next part of training is smack talking on the mic, and this is the absolute highlight of the movie. This is the reason Vince Vaughn was cast in this movie. Meanwhile, Zack is taking back alley wrestling deals, and now I'm wondering how deep the underground wrestling world goes. He's being picked up and slammed down on a ring of tacks. This is all sorts of wrong. After pulling the tacks out of his back, Zack calls Hutch about another tape he sent in, and Hutch gives him the cold, hard truth. He's going to have to find something else. Meanwhile, Saraya is doing a great job of making friends with the models turned wrestlers she's been paired with. After she slaps one of them for hitting her, Hutch makes sure to point out that they don't do things like that here. When she gets back to her room, Saraya video calls her family, and she finds out that they are already raking in the money from her fame. This makes Saraya try to make up with the other girls, but she ends up making it worse. When it comes time for an actual match, the girls start their match with some back and forth, but Saraya gets a bad case of stage fright. That's probably the worst thing she could have done. Don't just say nothing, say anything. She could have clucked like a hen and that would have gotten her a fan base at least. That night, we see that Zack isn't really doing too well with the new family life, and he ignores a call from Saraya, who is hoping to hear some reassuring words. The next day, Zack goes to pick up the wrestling kids, but after thinking about it, he drives off and leaves them behind. Back in Orlando, Saraya sees how the other girls are treated by the guys, and she decides to give herself a nice little makeover. When they load up the bus for their final training session before the holiday, Saraya has dyed her hair blonde, and the others can't believe what they see. She ends up bringing up the rear in every event, and she starts to question her place in all of this. When they get back on the bus, Saraya really starts to understand how her view of the other girls might have damaged her relationship with them and the league. When they make a pit stop, Hutch takes a moment to tell her about his own personal journey to try and become a star. How he destroyed his body and his relationship to chase a dream that never came. By the end of it, he tells her that that's why he didn't sign Zack, and he thinks that she should stay home after the holidays and give up now. This is a better way to send someone off other than that first time where he just called Saraya's name. I feel like if Zack had gotten this treatment when he got rejected, he might be doing a little better right now. This was better than how I've seen some people get fired from minimum wage jobs. Come Christmas time, Saraya heads home and Ricky drives her back to the house where she runs into her mother. That night, Saraya goes to a family wrestling night and she finally gets to catch up with Zack. She tells him that she's not going to go back and they head out for their match. Zack definitely doesn't follow the script and he slams her 3 times before pinning her in front of everyone. When they get backstage, Ricky and Julia come back to see what happened out there and Zack tells them that Saraya is quitting. Then he walks out. Ricky and Julia ask if this is true, and Saraya tells him that she just can't handle it anymore. That night, Courtney calls and tells him that Zack hasn't come home, and they head out to search for him. Saraya finds him at a pub, and he's starting fights with the local lads. Ricky heads inside just in time to break it up before someone gets sent to the hospital, and Saraya chases Zack down outside to have a talk. He blames her for taking his dream, but Saraya points out that it's no one's fault. It's just the way it is. She swears that wrestling is her dream too, but then he questions why she's throwing it away then. When Saraya and her parents get back home, Ricky sits down with her and promises that no matter what she chooses, he'll always love and support her. After the holiday break, everyone is surprised and happy to see Saraya come back to training, and she even has her original look back. Hutch asks her if she's sure she wants to be here, and she swears that this is exactly where she wants to be. Here's your classic montage. All of a sudden, Saraya is going to become one of the best with just a minute and a half of training montage. Obviously, I know how montages work as a way to pass time, but it just feels obligatory now. Oh, and she even becomes friends with the other girls. Did you see that coming? During the next NXT Diva Showcase, Saraya ends up pulling off a magnificent show, and then we cut to cuts. Saraya makes the cut, and as a celebration, Hutch tells him that he's taking them to WrestleMania. Back in England, we see that Saraya's brother Roy has been released from prison, but Zack is getting ready to do something big. That night at WrestleMania, Hutch takes Saraya backstage to meet with The Rock in his private viewing gallery. The Rock walks right in and he offers to talk to Saraya's family. When Ricky answers the phone, he makes The Rock prove that it's actually him, but he hangs up on him because he doesn't believe him. Saraya calls him back to tell him that it really is, and The Rock tells her family that he has news to share with all of them. He tells them that Saraya will be making her debut in Raw tomorrow night. Back in England the next day, Roy and Zack go for a run, and Zack tries to tell him that it should have been him getting signed. Roy tells him that it was always going to be her because she had Zack around to guide her. Later that day, Zack drives around in the gym van, and he tries to recruit the old members back from the streets. The gym comes back to life, and Zack goes back to being a role model for all of the neighborhood kids that look up to him. Back in the States, Saraya gets ready for her Monday Night Raw debut and title fight. She watches from backstage as the great wrestling giants take to the ring, and she starts to have a panic attack when Hutch comes to collect her. Just then, she gets a call from Zack, and she gets the most personalized motivational speech to get her back out in the ring. I want to know how much of this is a true story. Paige is one of the most recognizable female wrestlers, and if this is a pure biopic, I want to know. And if this is true, more power to the real life Zack if he really did turn around like this. Points to you. Back home, the entire family and Jim family is gathered in Ricky and Julia's living room, and they are awaiting Saraya's intro. At first, she seems like she's frozen to the spot again, and her rival grabs her and starts the match without even giving Saraya a chance to catch her breath. Even after the match starts, Saraya seems to be lost, but then she comes back with a vengeance. Even Courtney's parents are getting into it. When you get some awesome wrestlers together in a ring, you can really lose yourself. I know, I can't believe I'm rooting for wrestling right now, but this scene really brought back the magic of watching wrestling as a kid. After escaping a terrifying submission, Saraya finishes the round with a pin, and she addresses the crowd. With a riveting speech about how this title was won for all the freaks and oddballs out there, she wins over the crowd and cements her place in the WWE. When Saraya gets off stage, she's greeted by her NXT teammates, and she celebrates her victory. Back home, Zack watches her with pride as he holds his baby, and the credits roll. Also, it turns out that this was a pretty accurate telling of how Paige came to be the youngest Divas champion in the WWE. This was fantastic, an absolute riot, and if you're a wrestling fan, this is a must for anyone that knows the name of Paige. Give it a shot. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more like this one. Comment what you think I should watch next, and I'll see you in the next video.